So hi Teresa, here's how you fix the cord on something. In this case, it's an old typewriter. I already cut the bad plug off the end. And you also need an old drop cord or something. This was a cord from an old radio that had this end on it that stopped working. So I've already done this. Just cut the end off. I did it with this one already. I'll do it again with this one. Separate the ends. You need needle-nose pliers. Pull on it with the other hand. You can use two if you want. You don't want to pull them apart too much. You want to match these together. And you want to cut one shorter than the other. I'll explain why in a little bit. So I've got these here. You want them to be the same length shorter. So these are going to line up, and this is going to line up here. So then I know to cut this one right here. And the reason you do that is because you're going to offset the connections here. So this one's going to be with that one, the long one to the short one to the long one, and then they'll line up perfectly without having a bump in the wire. Okay, so some of the supplies you want: soldering gun, a block of wood to solder on, solder. I'm going to use heat shrink tubing. In a pinch, you could use electrical tape, because I don't always keep heat shrink tubing in my pocket, but I always have some electrical tape in my pocket. So I also don't have a wire stripper, so I do here. I could strip them with my teeth completely. I want to miss. I'm going to grab just the end and kind of nip it there, because I want to miss the copper. Nip that one end off. See? Miss the copper. As you can see it in there, it's a little blurry. Selfie camera's a little cheap here. And then, of course, make sure it's not plugged in when you do that. Okay, so those are all done, and there's a very important step here that I often forget. And I'm not the only one, is that you have to put your heat shrink tubing on first before you make your connections. I actually should have put this on before I stripped them, because the little wires aren't going to want to go on. So there's the big one that's going to go on the outside of everything, and I don't even know what's going to fit. I'm going to push that far away so I don't accidentally heat it up when I'm heating up the small ones. So small ones here, obviously I'm going to want to put that on the long wire so I have room to work, and then slide it on. Okay, so I definitely should have done that before I stripped them. But now I'm going to solder these. So what I'm going to do is just kind of spread them out a little bit, smoosh them together. I don't know about doing this without soldering. So there's that one there. It should stick together if you're going to solder it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Do the other one here. Okay, so I got these here, and they're about the same amount of slack in them. I'll take my board to solder them on. And just to hold them in place, I've got a coffee cup over here, and I set in the water. My coffee's getting cold. This one got a little bit frayed, so I'm going to wrap it up a little bit. And then I'm going to put my needle-nose pliers over here to hold this one down. It's actually just coming apart, so I'm just going to wrap it around the outside. Probably would have been better anyway. All right. Now I'm going to let my soldering iron heat up here. This old Radio Shack thing, you can get one of these that are kind of nice. And of course, you want to make sure it's melting the solder. So do a test. Yes, there's a paper over the top of the table here. And then to solder, you push down, smoosh all the wires together. Let it heat up a little bit, and then here you notice I'll kind of like start the soldering iron and move to the wire. The wire might be kind of old and dirty. This one's pretty nice. Make the whole thing. Let's see. This is how to solder, but you melt the solder into the wire, not the gun. I'm going to push it together there to make sure all the things I twisted are right. And then this one over here, you won't be able to see this. Maybe you do the same thing. You could put a little flux on it first, but as long as you got it good and hot. Your flux core solder should be fine. Now you see the connections I've got here. You'll notice as I twisted these together, there's some things sticking out. So just so they don't go through the shrink wrap, you just smoosh them a little bit. You don't want to, I'm not cutting it here. You notice I'm just using the inner part of the pliers since it's smooth. Obviously, you don't want to crush this hard enough to like break your solder joint, but they do bend. And this will like smoosh down all the points that might possibly go through the shrink wrap. All right. So then I just feel them once they're cool. Make sure there's no pointy parts that break to the shrink wrap. Let's see here. I put these in the middle like that. And I have this heat gun, short cord. This is a lot better than a match, so you can always borrow mine, Teresa. Look at that. I bet you a hairdryer would work for that too. No. Just because I'm paranoid, I am going to put a little bit of tape on top of that for extra strength. Okay, so there we got that done. And you'll notice it didn't matter which wire I connected up to which wire, because the old plug was like this. Both of the prongs were the same. So I could use an old plug that had the prongs the same like this one. It will say, the old plug looks like this, with one is bigger. Sometimes it's bigger all the way down, not just the end like that. You have to find an old cord that has a plug like this, and then you have to make sure the wires match up. Usually you can see the fatter one, which I believe is the neutral. Don't count on that. It has this, it's a little stripy. And that goes, stripy side there, goes to this one, which is probably the neutral, but it doesn't matter. You just have to match them up. So now I take this cord where I have my shrink wrap way down there. I'm just going to slide it on here, and it's not going to fit because that's the way things always go, right? It's fitting fine, right? It's fitting just fine. No, it's not. Okay, so here's what I did. I took off my tape and I just put on a little extra tape in the thin spot where the connection is. And now it's going to fit, right? Just a sec. Okay, Teresa, I got it to slide on. I'm going to make you guess how, though. So, anyway, it's time for the heat gun again. And here we go. All shrinky dinked. Have fun, don't shock yourself.